Angron had wept once, and only once in all the years of his life. He remembered it well, for it was his first memory outside the stifling confines of his gestation tube. He pulled himself from the sundered warmth of his birth pod and into the freezing mountain air. All he could see was red, and all he could taste was his own blood. The wounds across his body froze as soon as he crawled free. Ice burned and cauterized after a fashion. He was a boy, just a boy, and he was bleeding all over. They'd come for him then, spindly shadows, quick as the wind, howling and laughing and cursing in a language he couldn't follow. He killed them. Of course he killed them. The moment he sensed them drawing near, he smelled the metal of their weapons and struck at them, without knowing any more than that the metal scent meant danger and death. He'd beaten several of them to death with a rock the size of his fist. Others have tried to run, but the bleeding boy had chased them over the tundra, bringing them down and tearing at their throats with his fingers and teeth. But he'd wept that day. Not because of his attackers, whoever they were, not because of the pain of his wounds, though he was but a boy, and none would judge him harshly for crying a boy's tears at the wounds he'd suffered. No, he'd wept upon his first emergence from the paw because of the wind against his skin. Even as the gale bit his injuries with cold teeth, the feeling of freedom brought tears to his eyes. In all the decades since, he'd never shed a tear until now. 2 saltwater droplets, freezing to his mangled face the moment they trailed down.
"All dead,"
he said softly.
"My brothers, my sisters."
Lorgar approached, careful when he walked, doing all he could not to disturb the sacred ground.
"What did you name your enemies?" "High Riders,"
Angron replied.
"We called them High Riders for how they stood above us, watching us die in the arena's dirt." "The High Riders took their dead with them,"
said the ward-bearer.
"There aren't enough bones to be the remains of both armies." "My brothers and sisters,"
Angron said again.
"I swore I'd stand with them. We would die together. Life had never seen such fights as Lorgar. Clester riding her shriek spear, Jokura with his strangling change, Ashti, little Ashti, stealing knives to throw and cut and stab. His grin warmed the cold nights. Larbaden, who lost his arm to gangrene, shouting for the High Riders to follow if they dared. He had my back, as I had his. We'd slip on the gore together, grinding the fallen beneath our boots.
Angron shook his head as he continued.
Words don't do them justice. We came from the Red Sands, growing in the filth, eating the shit the High Riders fed us. But we broke free. Thousands, Lorgar. Thousands of us. We were free, and we lived and laughed, and we made the bastards pay. The nails hurt, how they hurt, even then. But we made the High Riders and their paper-skinned kitten god pay.
Lorgar listened in silence as Angron lowered his head.
I should have died here. I did die here. The Primarch of the World Eaters is nothing but a shade, an echo. This is where I belong. The greatest battle of my life, and it was stolen from me.
Now Lorgar spoke, not without a slight smile.
There will be a greater battle, brother. Terror, and I promise you, no one will deny it to you.
Terror? Terror?
Angron laughed, the sound rotten with bitterness.
I piss on Terra. I care nothing for Terra, or Horus, or him, the Emperor.
Then why do I hear such hatred in your voice?
Lorgar asked quietly. Angron pulled the chain blades from their scabbards on his back, clenching the handle triggers and setting them roaring.
He took me. He dragged me to the sky. The Emperor, the gods-termed Emperor.
You'll have your vengeance, Angron. We will stand upon Terra's soil again before long. You have my word.
My brothers.
Angron continued, murmuring low, not hearing his brother's oath.
My sisters, slaves, all pit-fighting slaves. Our lives were mud to the high riders that held chains around our throats. But our masters paid. Oh, how they paid. The world burned when we broke free. It burned. I promise you that.
The other Primarch nodded in slow understanding.
I believe you.
Angron still wasn't hearing anything but the ghost in his mind.
The war dragged on, season after season, city after city. The rivers ran red with High Rider blood. We fought everywhere, I swear it. The High Riders charged our shield wall at Volca. They charged us. Their lordlings demanded of them, and they rose to the bait. I still hear the thunder. The thunder of both lines meeting. Do you hear it?
He turned, wild eyes on Lorgar.
Do you hear the thunder?
Lorgar smiled, his rune-painted face ruthlessly kind.
I hear it, brother.
But we fled. When the seasons turned, we had to run into the mountains, to the ridges to survive the winter. Too many High Rider armies were coming for us, with their lasers and grenades and machine guns rattling all day and every night. I swore I'd die with my brothers and sisters in the mountains. We were free. It was our death, the death we earned, the death we wanted. We laughed and called them closer, High Rider bastards.
Vaulting onto a boulder and throwing his arms wide, he shouted, nay, screamed, his laughing challenge to the sky.
Come and die, dogs of Deshea. I am Angron of the Pits, born in the blood, raised in the dark, and I will die free. Come, watch me fight one last time. Is that not what you want? Is that not what you always wanted? Come closer, you dog-blooded cowards.
Karn watched his Primarch standing against the rising wind, seeing history repeating itself to the tune of maddened memory. Angron raised his chainswords, miming the first cuts and carves of the last fight. The teeth roared with every sweep. The gathered legionaries were transfixed, staring in silence.
And then, the Emperor, he stole me, trapped me, banished me to the Conqueror's dark belly, teleported me into orbit, though at the time I knew nothing of such technology. I was alone in the dark, and my brothers and sisters died here. They died without me. We swore to stand and fight and die. Together.
Angron rocked back and forth, the blades lowering, his eyes unfocusing.
The Emperor. I write a dog filth. When Horus called, I gave my word. Because I lived when I should have died. That's no gift. He made me a traitor. He made me betray the only oath that mattered. I lived, and my brothers and sisters died here. Their bones left for the vermin, the wind, The snow.
The two brothers could have been alone for all the attention they paid to their nearby warriors. Lorgar walked to Angron again, careful not to touch him, but pitching his voice in what felt to Karn like an insidious caress.
No purer emotion than rage,
said Lorgar.
No more righteous ambition than vengeance.
The light of recognition dawned in Angron's eyes.
Vengeance. Aye. Revenge. Food for the soul, brother.
Why were you different?
Lorgar asked.
Why did our father treat you as he did?
Angron shrugged away from the insipid kindness of his brother's tone.
You kept that mule coffer on. Russ, his kin friends. The lion kept Luther. Humans, brothers and foster fathers, saved and raised into legion ranks. But not me, not Angron, no. Did the Emperor teleport his gold-wrapped custodians down to help me in my army? Did he free the warhounds and order them to battle, to fight alongside me? No. No. Did he save my brothers and sisters the same way he spared and honored the lion's closest kin, the way he honored Corferon? No, and no. No mercy for Angron. Angron the Oathbreaker. Angron the Betrayer.
The World Eater jumped from the boulder, looking down at the bones, but still speaking to Lorgar.
Did he stay on my homeworld for weeks, as he did with you on Colchis, Vulcan on Nocturne, and Ross on Fenris? No. No contest of strength and will with the Emperor for Angron the Slave. No weeks of laughter and joy and healing the world's wounds. Instead, he stole me from life. He stole me from the life I'd lived and the death I'd earned. He made me break my oath to those who needed me.
Lorgar's eyes were fierce now.
But why? Why did he let your army die? Why did he steal you in a teleportation flare when he could have remained here for a time, as he did on so many other worlds? He had a legion, your legion, in orbit, Angron, a single order, and they would have bloodied their blades at your side, saving your rebel army and hailing you as their gene-sire. Instead, he collared them as he collared you.
Angron drooled, thick and wet down his chin.
I'll never know why. He never answered me. But he'll pay, as the High Riders paid. And when I stand before him on Terra, I will ask him again, and then, Lorgar, our father will answer.
The ward-bearer sighed, in the grip of something sublime and unshared.
You deserve an answer.
Deshea,
said Angron.
I have to go there. I have to see who rules the city that claimed to own me. The city that murdered my brothers and sisters.
As you wish.